Yes, PlayStation boss says it's open to reviving classic franchises. Yes, let that mind go crazy. What do you want to see? Of course, we have Ape Escape image here. But basically, co-CEO Herman Hull said Sony is open to reviving back its back catalog of classic games. And I asked many people about this in the Sunday video, of course, the gaming news roundup I post on the main channel every Sunday. And many people went crazy, obviously. They want to see Jak and Daxter. Bring back Jak and Daxter. Of course, if you're watching this, let me know in the comments what you want to see. But I want to look at this a bit more as well. And is it realistic? And what about Days Gone 2 and Uncharted? Because there's some interesting history going on there with Sony Band and Uncharted. Bring back SOCOM. I think it's like kind of crazy that Sony has been doing a lot of live service games and they're not going back to SOCOM. Maybe they can't find the right partner for it. But I do think that game was pretty ahead of its time with the tactical gameplay and Rainbow Six, of course, Counter-Strike. They're super successful. So I think it's kind of crazy that Sony has not been looking at SOCOM for as far as we know. That would, of course, totally turn some heads. And that's what they kind of need with their live service initiative, not these new IPs that nobody really cares about. Now, they did, like, try a Twisted Metal. We have Nighthawk saying Twisted Metal and Jet Moto would be great to bring back. Sure. And they were going to do a new Twisted Metal, but yeah, as you can read, new Twisted Metal game reportedly cancelled. Yeah, so this was going to be the Destruction All-Star team that was first making it. Then they moved it over to Firesprite. And yeah, it just got cancelled. They could not find the fun in the game. And that has been kind of going on with Sony. They have been trying. We learned in 2021 about a Wipeout potential game as well, but yeah, we haven't heard anything since. Of course, there's one crown jewel that Sony has in their portfolio, and they're not doing anything with it, at least for as far as we know. We know Naughty Dog is done with Uncharted. They don't want to do it anymore. Don't expect a new Uncharted from Naughty Dog anytime soon, as Neil Druckmann has confirmed that the studio has moved on from the series. So I think Naughty Dog for the foreseeable future, they will of course do Intergalactic. I think that will like launch 2026 if we're lucky, probably 2027. Then they will do The Last of Us Part 3. Let's hope that's 2030, probably later. And then they, like, depends on if Intergalactic is a success. Then they will probably do the sequel for that. Naughty Dog, they got their hands tied. They got their work cut out for them. But we, of course, know this. And maybe you remember this. It was at the start of 2023. They had this Sony ad where they were like, okay, wow, look at all the properties we have. Spider-Man in the real world. Horizon. Oh, who is this? Red-haired girl. Oh wow, looking over San Francisco, looks amazing. Basically, all these things, like we got God of War, Final Fantasy 16, all these things were based on games, like Ratchet & Clank. But then, Returnal, Gran Turismo. But then, did you see that? It was like 1 second. We go to this cave with this girl with the torch, and they're just quiet about it. We move on. Ghost of Tsushima. Okay, Destiny. Okay, we got Stray. 1 sec. It's not even 1 second. That's crazy. That's so fast. But yeah, we have another tease for a girl blowing dust of a random chest that she's finding in the freaking cave. And then we see all the games. So yeah, that was like a super weird tease. I think at one point there is like a small window for it again as well. But I'm not sure if I can find it. But either way, what were they doing? What was this? 2 years later, we still don't know. So, what is interesting, because I also have this, and you could argue, I mean, not as like old as the other games. I would love a sequel to Days Gone 2. Or to Days Gone. Yeah. Well, the crazy part is, this was at one point planned. If we go over here to Adam on LinkedIn, we see that currently he's a senior gameplay animator at Bend again. Okay. Oh no, at Archetype Entertainment. Not sure what that studio is. He was also working at Crystal Dynamics, probably on Perfect Dark. They are, of course, kind of leading that with the initiative from Xbox. But before that, for 2 years and 4 months, he was working with Naughty Dog to prototype and create content on an unannounced project, and also like create animation tools in Python. Basically, he worked on an unannounced title with Naughty Dog and an unannounced band project during that time. And we kind of know that this was what they wanted to do. So after Days Gone, of course, they were like, what are we gonna do now? Well, they pitched 2 projects. One, a Days Gone sequel. They would need 30 new hires. And they would need some worldwide studio support. So this is like the easier path forward for them. Then they also were like, yo, we can also do an Uncharted game, but then we would need 50 more hires. It would go like 8 million probably over Project Horizon. I think Days Gone sequel was then probably Project Horizon. So they would need a bit more like money overall. And we now also learned what that Uncharted game was actually going to be. Days Gone director Jeff Ross wanted to make an Uncharted prequel. During an interview with Sacred Symbols via Video Game Chronicle, Ross explained what his Uncharted prequel would be all about. Victor Sullivan at the age of 25 in a very stylized world where it would be around 1976, I think is where we figured out his age would be, he explained. He busted out of the navies for a reason, and I thought seeing him young and trying to figure out his way in this world, going from trying to be a soldier or, you know, a military man, to now I'm just out on the streets and I'm going to become a hustle. So yeah, there was basically a plan to have a young Sully game. Now, what happened, of course, with Sony Band? Basically, Sony did not want a Days Gone sequel. Because even though we have like data on the sales, if we go over here, if we look at Days Gone, it's like at 7.3 million copies sold. Probably more by now. This is like this is from February 2022. But still, it's number 12. That's pretty good. And Ghost, that was like that launched a year later, is like 100,000 more. Obviously, Ghost has now sold more than 10 million. But yeah, Days Gone was and is still close to Bloodborne in terms of units sold. Still, because of the reviews, Sony was like, nah, we're not gonna do it. There might have been some extra behind the scenes things where not everyone liked, from what I could understand, working with the directors on Days Gone. They also left the studio afterwards. And then they were working on this Uncharted project and were at one point being like, yo, we already made Golden Abyss. They, of course, did the FIDA game. We want to make our own IP instead. We want to do something that we're more passionate about. So that is what happened. And we actually have a leak recently regarding what this game is going to be. And I'm kind of scared. So screenshots of Sony's Band new IP leak suggest a third-person military shooter. Sony Band, the developer behind Days Gone, is working on his next project for some time now. Days Gone launched in 2019. Now, obviously, again, they were doing that Uncharted project, so they started on this new IP in 2022 is when I would, like, they probably 2021, 2022. So it's been 3 years full development now. It's likely still going to be 2026, 2027 when we actually see it. So yeah, there was like a leak from a UI designer's portfolio. These images suggest a third-person military shooter with crafting, leveling up, and other multiplayer functions. So what we kind of know, like what they officially said, is that it includes multiplayer and builds upon open world systems of Days Gone. And yeah, I cannot show the images, of course, because they were leaked. Sony claimed them already. We do have this tweet where we kind of see a small, like, blurred image of what it looked like. I did see the images before they were taken down, and it looked very, very early. But it did, like, kind of tease that. Is it a survival game or? I don't know. I'm just scared because what made Days Gone great? For me, it was the story, and for me, it was also the hordes and just being lost in that world and kind of just being on this adventure with Deacon. And I hope that they don't throw that away for a more gameplay focused, yeah, I don't know, sandbox type experience. But yeah, we will have to wait and see. To round it out though, we don't know if Uncharted is still happening. Again, they did the tease. Sony Bandit's at least not working on it. They were just not passionate about it. And then, yeah, they should not do it. But there must be someone at Sony working on that. As for other classic franchises, I think this comment is a great one to round it out. Bringing back old IPs in today's gaming environment will ruin the IPs and just make fans mad. It's best to let them rest until we get people who actually are qualified to make the remakes and the sequels, because right now studios care more about checkboxes than the actual games. And that's of course also why we're not seeing all these games being brought back, why there's no new Infamous. Like, if Sony could have it their way, they would probably have all their, like, franchises flourish and new games in the project. But if you don't have a creative director or like a team with a vision and a cool way to, yeah, make that franchise modern, then there's no good reason to bring it back, right? So then it makes sense. You can better, like, let it rest, have people hope that one day it will happen, or keep the fond memories, so that when you do a crossover, like they're doing the Killzone crossover in Helldivers 2, that you are like, oh yeah, I love playing Killzone, I might get this. Instead of, oh, that lost Killzone game that random studio did was really bad, I'm not gonna bother with Killzone anymore, that sucks. Kind of what, in a way, happened with Mass Effect, like, and obviously that was still BioWare making Andromeda, but that did hurt the overall franchise, and you don't want stuff like that to happen. And of course, we should round out this topic with this. Open to reviving anything and everything other than Bloodborne. I'm so done with Sony for that. Yep. I mean, Days Gone sold more. I think Days Gone sold in the end more than Bloodborne. We're not getting Days Gone 2. But I know, of course, it's different. That is different. Bloodborne is not on PC. If Bloodborne would be on PC, it would easily sell a few million. Bloodborne is still that weird story that I want someone to tell that. Like, what is going on? Why? Because Sony is even making a freaking Gravity Rush movie. Why are they looking at all their franchises and for some reason they cannot do anything with Bloodborne? They would have, like, there's like Bloodborne merch. It's wild. That's still the puzzle that I don't think, yeah, nobody had solved. But there were, at one point I read a rumor and I believe it. I just want to believe it, and that makes the most sense, that they're keeping Bloodborne as like a PS6 remake, just like Demon Souls, and have it as a PS6 launch title, because that would move units. That would be huge. So maybe that's why they're holding it close to their chest, but we will see.